Welcome to Tell Me More Stories Told as Podcast. Get ready for an adventure because today we are plunging headfirst into the really fascinating and, often outrageous world of Sacha Baron Cohen. You know the characters, right? The ones that make you gasp and laugh, sometimes at the same time, Ali G, Borat, Brüno. But what about the man behind them? The person who actually conjures up these, unforgettable and sometimes pretty controversial figures. That's the story we're diving into today. Our mission really is to get beyond the headlines, to unpack his journey, the driving forces, and some of those truly unbelievable moments that have shaped Sacha Baron Cohen. We've got a lot to unravel here, so let's just jump right in.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating right from the start is the foundation, where all this comedy comes from. He was born in London, 1971, and his family history is, it's deeply rooted in the Ashkenazi Jewish experience. His mother was born in British Mandatory Palestine. His father's side came from Belarus, eventually settling in Wales. There's even that story about his paternal grandfather adding Baron to the family name. And maybe most significantly, his maternal grandmother actually fled Nazi Germany. I think this background, it offers a really powerful, though maybe often subtle, undercurrent to a lot of his later satire. That sensitivity to prejudice.
It definitely adds a layer, doesn't it? A deeper understanding. And it wasn't just family history shaping him. Like a lot of comedic talents, he had his heroes. Sure, he liked Monty Python, Peter Cook, the classics. But it seems Peter Sellers was the one who really, truly captivated him. He admired how Sellers could just disappear into characters, but still deliver that sharp social commentary. You can almost see that influence in Baron Cohen's own work, like passing the baton. Now, here's a fun fact that might surprise you. Before all the chaos and comedy, Sacha Baron Cohen's first TV appearance was actually as a cellist. Yeah, on a show called Fanfare for Young Musicians. From Bach to Borat. Quite the leap.
That's brilliant. It really humanizes him, doesn't it? The guy behind these wild personas. It shows that connection to performance just in a very different way initially. And after his education, which interestingly included studying history at Cambridge, focusing on anti-Semitism and Jewish activists in the U.S. civil rights movement, you can really see those early interests foreshadowing his later themes.
Definitely.
After Cambridge, he even did a stint as a fashion model.
Wow, okay. Cellist, history student focusing on anti-Semitism, then fashion model. Talk about a varied resume.
Yeah.
But you can see the seeds of performance being sown, right? He started cutting his teeth, hosting like a weekly show on Windsor Cable TV, then youth chat shows like Pump TV and F2F. But the time in Paris, studying at École Philippe Gaulier, that seems like a real turning point.
Oh, absolutely. The clown training.
Gaulier himself said he was a good clown, full of spirit. Baron Cohen gives him credit for giving him that freedom to explore the absurd.
That formal clown training is so important, I think. It's the bedrock. Physical comedy, character work, that impeccable timing you see. It all comes from that foundation, even in the seemingly spontaneous stuff. His first movie role was pretty small, The Jolly Boys' Last Stand in 2000. And then there's that almost legendary story of Super Greg.
Ah, yes, the Lee Jeans ads that never aired.
Exactly, but became this huge internet thing. Anyway, even back then, you see him pushing boundaries, trying to get a reaction.
Totally. And like a little sneak preview, we got our first taste of Brüno around then, too. A little sketch on the Paramount Comedy Channel in '98, that flamboyant fashion reporter.
A signpost.
Yeah, pointing towards the character-driven satire that would become his trademark. But the character that really, truly detonated onto the scene, the one that made Sacha Baron Cohen a household name, was, of course, Ali G.
Yes, Ali G. Wow. That creation, this pitch perfect parody of suburban British kids adopting hip hop and British Jamaican culture, it just exploded onto the 11 o'clock show in 1998. The mangled slang, the absolute confidence, despite the ignorance, the sheer nerve of his questions. It was instantly hilarious and captivating.
Oh, completely.
By 99, he's GQ's Comedian of the Year, wins Best Newcomer at the British Comedy Awards. He was massive.
And then Daily Ali G Show kicked off in 2000, and the whole world started paying attention. Won a BAFTA for Best Comedy in 2001. Ali G was a proper cultural icon in the UK. He even popped up as Madonna's limo driver in the music video. Remember that?
I do. Yeah. So surreal.
And used the character for good, like supporting comic relief with that unforgettable interview with Posh and Bex. No wonder Channel 4 ranked him 8th on their list of greatest TV characters. And then, of course, the movie Ali G into House. Him getting elected to Parliament somehow. Pure comedy gold.
What made Ali G work so well, I think, was how Baron Cohen used the character's perceived naivete. It let him expose the prejudices and often the just plain illogical beliefs of the people he interviewed.
Yeah, they underestimated him.
Exactly. And in doing that, they often revealed way more about themselves than they ever intended.
It was satire served with a side of pure bewilderment on their faces. And the way he set up those interviews was just genius. Often disguised as crew, right? Making them think it was a serious interview coming up.
Yeah, the bait and switch.
And then bam, out comes Ali G at the last second.
Yeah.
That surprise element was key to getting those unguarded real reactions.
Precisely. That careful setup was crucial. And while Ali G was making all this noise, another character was already brewing. Borat Sagdiyev. Borat actually appeared in a sort of early form as Alexei Krickler on F2F, even before Ali G really took off.
Okay.
Then he was developed properly on Damn Ali G Show.
Borat. Oh, man. The Kazakh journalist who became this, global sensation. The Borat movie in 2006, that was a cultural earthquake, wasn't it?
Absolutely massive.
#1 at the U.S. box office, gets him a Golden Globe for Best Actor, an Oscar nomination for the script. It was just this audacious, hilarious, and often deeply uncomfortable mockumentary, holding up this really distorted mirror to American culture, tackling everything from misunderstandings to, well, some pretty ingrained prejudices. He even put out a travel guide as Borat. The commitment to the bit was incredible.
What's so powerful about Borat is how he, amplified existing biases to this almost cartoonish level. It forced audiences, really, to confront their own assumptions, their own prejudices. Yeah, the humor could be crude, absolutely, but it served that bigger satirical point, exposing uncomfortable truths.
Definitely.
And it's interesting, he announced Borat's retirement back in 2007, but then brought him back years later.
Right. Showed the character still had relevance, he felt.
And then there's Brüno, the outrageously flamboyant Austrian fashion presenter, another one from Da Ali G's show's stable.
Brüno. Yeah, he turned that satirical lens onto the fashion world, celebrity culture, sexuality. Again, with that fearless absurdity. Who can forget that stunt at the 2009 MTV Movie Awards with Eminem?
Oh, yeah.
That definitely got people talking, even if it turned out to be staged later.
That stunt, staged or not, really captured Brüno's whole vibe. Provocative, headline-grabbing. And the Brüno film itself, there was a huge bidding war in Hollywood for it.
Right.
It showed the industry knew Baron Cohen could create characters that sparked massive interest. And, controversy, too. Like Borat, Brüno used that exaggerated persona to poke fun at the often superficial, sometimes ridiculous aspects of the world he was in.
Okay, so we've had Ali G, Borat, Brüno. These characters were undeniably shaking things up, but he didn't stop there. Next up was Admiral General Aladeen in The Dictator.
2012, yeah.
A film directly satirizing dictators like Gaddafi. And we have to mention that Oscar's red carpet moment with the ashes of Kim Jong-il. Pure theatrical audacity.
The Dictator sort of continued that theme, using an exaggerated character for political commentary, this time focusing on authoritarianism. Yeah. Maybe less reliant on tricking real people this time, but the humor was still very much in his signature provocative style.
And then a few years later, 2018, we got Who is America? A whole series with new characters, including that unforgettable Israeli anti-terrorism expert, Aaron Morad. That show kicked up a lot of controversy, didn't it? With those shocking interviews with public figures.
It really did. Who is America? Was a return to that interview format, but maybe even more elaborate. The disguises, the personas, all designed to get these really revealing responses.
Seemed like a sharp critique of the U.S. political scene.
Definitely. And interviews like the one with Philip Van Cleave about, arming toddlers.
Oh, God, yes.
Or Jason Spencer doing those bizarre anti-terror drills. They sparked intense debate, huge media attention.
They certainly did. Okay, before we move on too far, maybe this is a good spot to remind everyone listening. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the world of Sacha Baron Cohen, make sure you hit that subscribe button for Tell Me More Stories Told as podcast. That way you won't miss any of our future explorations. There are always more fascinating stories out there, so yeah, hit subscribe.
Good point. And, while we focused a lot on these huge characters, Ali G, Borat, Brüno, Aaron Morad, it's worth remembering Baron Cohen's range. He's done straight acting, too, and quite successfully.
Right, like guest spots on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Voicing King Julian in the Madagascar movies.
And he was brilliant as Jean Girard in Talladega Nights.
Absolutely. And then more dramatic stuff, too. Sweeney Todd, Hugo, Les Misérables.
It really shows his versatility, doesn't it? It's not just the comedic disguises.
Exactly. It highlights his fundamental talent as a performer. He's not just, a one-trick pony hiding behind wigs. He's a skilled actor, That whole thing about him nearly playing Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Creative differences, they said.
Right. But it shows his ambition, his potential in more traditional roles, too.
And we absolutely have to talk about his activism, because that seems just as important to him. He's a really passionate campaigner, philanthropist.
A founding member of the Stop Hate for Profit Coalition.
And he's been so vocal criticizing social media companies, how they handle hate speech.
Yeah, very outspoken. And alongside his now former wife, Isla Fisher, they made significant donations. Save the Children, the IRC.
Helping Syrian refugees, kids in Sudan.
It's substantial.
His activism feels like a really important counterpoint to the comedy.
I think so. He uses his platform to speak out against bigotry, prejudice. That speech he gave when he got the ADL's International Leadership Award in 2019, it was powerful. A real takedown of the internet giants.
Yeah, I remember seeing clips of that.
And more recently, getting involved in discussions about the Hamas hostages, challenging TikTok execs on content moderation for Jewish users. It shows this deep, ongoing engagement with really serious issues, often echoing the themes in his satire, actually.
It really does feel like the comedy isn't just for laughs. It comes from this place of, like, genuine conviction, a desire to provoke thought, maybe even change things. But that said, his brand of comedy, it hasn't always landed perfectly with everyone, has it?
No, definitely not.
He's faced criticism that maybe some of the humor, even if meant to expose prejudice, could end up reinforcing stereotypes.
It's a really delicate line, isn't it, between effective satire and unintentionally causing harm. It's a debate that follows his work constantly. His defense has always been consistent. The characters are exaggerated reflections of existing prejudices, meant to make them look absurd and make people think critically.
Right.
But yeah, incidents like the Neil Hamilton thing with the alleged cannabis.
The diplomatic row with Kazakhstan after Borat.
All those lawsuits from people claiming they were duped, emotionally distressed, they all highlight the real-world impact, the controversies that come with his style.
They're undeniably part of the Sacha Baron Cohen story. That lawsuit from Roy Moore over the Who is America interview, that got thrown out eventually, right?
It did, yes. But another example of the legal battles his work can spark.
And you can't forget him crashing that right-wing protest in Washington State in full Borat gear during the filming of the second Borat movie.
Oh,
That's a level of commitment to the bit that's almost unbelievable.
It really is. That willingness to just dive into these unpredictable, sometimes genuinely risky situations for his art. It defines him. It shows this incredible dedication to his satirical vision, even with all the potential backlash and personal risk.
Just briefly on the personal side, his relationship with Isla Fisher was obviously a big part of his life for a long time.
Over 2 decades, yeah.
Met in 2001, married in early 10, 3 kids together. They announced their divorce earlier this year, which was sad news. But it showed a different side to him, away from the often very public, provocative work persona. He's also spoken about being proud of his Jewish identity, keeping some customs, being fluent in Hebrew.
Right. He even spent a year on a kibbutz in Israel when he was young.
That connection to his Jewish identity feels like a thread running through things, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah. Both personally and sometimes subtly in the work. You can see nuances in characters like Borat, maybe Aaron Morad too. His Hebrew fluency probably adds another layer there.
Sacha Baron Cohen's story is just, well, it's remarkable, isn't it? From that young cellist to creating some of the most iconic, boundary-smashing, and, often controversial comedy characters of our time, all while being this dedicated activist and philanthropist. He really defies any easy label.
He absolutely does. He's a performer who's constantly challenged the norms of comedy, of satire. He's not afraid to provoke, to push those boundaries, to make people, audiences, public figures confront uncomfortable stuff. His work can be challenging, sure, sometimes divisive, but it's undeniably influential, thought-provoking.
Yeah, we've really only scratched the surface today. So many more layers we could peel back. But hopefully this deep dive has given you listening a richer picture of the man behind the laughter and the headlines.
Absolutely. His willingness to take risks, to fully become these extreme characters, and to use comedy as this tool for social commentary, it makes him genuinely unique, a really significant force in culture today.
And that just about wraps up our deep dive for today. We really hope you enjoyed this exploration of the world of Sacha Baron Cohen. Remember, if you did, hit that subscribe button for Tell Me More Stories Told As podcast so you don't miss our next adventure into the unexpected. And maybe, as you go about your day, think about this. How does humor, especially the kind that makes us maybe squirm a bit, how does it have the power to spark real conversations? to challenge how we see the world. It's definitely something worth pondering. Thanks so much for joining us on this journey of discovery.